inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, cause real women don't bitch, no. Real women don't, 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 real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. All right, what's going on? This is your host, August Crenshaw. We are back with another episode. And today for Feature Friday, we have a guest, and I have always called her the Shiznit. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, she just did the most cute, adorable pose. Okay, I am a fan of many of the people that I have here with me because I know them personally. And I know eventually that may not be the case as I'm continuing to get flooded with applications for other speakers, but I know you, Samoa. And I'm like super, super excited to have you here, not just because I know you and I know your work, but I've also collaborated with you before on several occasions for 2 summits, and you, Miss Beauty, are phenomenal. You are perfect to be on a podcast that's all about getting shit done no matter what life throws at you, because you are a millennial who has defied so many odds, and you can show these women out here that even if they start late, they can still do it. If they start early, they can still do it. Any excuse that anybody can have, I know your walk personally, and you have kicked ass with it. So I'm excited to have you here. But I don't want to steal your thunder. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody hello first?
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited and happy to be here. I love August. I love me some August. So being here is like a great honor and like a real excitement. So I'll just jump into the intro.
I was going to say, yeah, you could go ahead and just go ahead and get into your flow. Let them know something about you. Who is Samoa?
So I'm Samoa. Some people call me the Shiznit. I'm in the process of really diving into myself and getting to know who I am. And so right now my experience is literally just finding new things about myself and saying, ooh, that's interesting. So right now I'm an adventurer in the sense that I'm an explorer. I'm exploring life and I'm exploring who I am. And also as I'm doing that, I'm also exploring how other people react to things. And I'm just finding the joy in the little things. And I'm excited about this moment that I'm in right now. Right now, I would say Samoa is an explorer. Definitely.
I like that. And you want to know that, so yeah, I won't stay here long. It wasn't until 2011, to be exact, that I found new things out about myself. And it's crazy, right? Because when I tell you some of these things I found out about myself, you might be thinking, well, August, you should have already known that. But when I was your age, I realized I was a creative, and I jumped into doing hair. But some things happened, and in 2011, I ended up doing a kick-ass job of reupholstering a whole sectional. I found out that I knew how to design jewelry rather well a few years later, and that those things that I discovered what in my 30s are what pushed me away from doing the same old everyday thing and building this empire that I have now as a coach. And so I think that's phenomenal that you are going through this phase at such a young age to say, you know what, let's explore who is Samoa, because I find so many women, they don't know who they are, and they have to keep on not reinventing themselves because they like kind of doing an upgrade, you know, like Beyonce, but having to refine themselves, to reinvent themselves, to try to redo something and explore this life and why they're put on the planet. And to know who you are, and then to say, but I want to know every layer of me. I think that's really romantic, that you would want to get to know yourself like that. So yeah, so here you are. You look like you might want to say something to that. Go ahead.
I do. I love that you said romantic, because even when I was a bit younger and I didn't have a chance to explore myself as much, I was still trying to figure things out, like, you know, high school. And I find that a lot of women, well, a lot of people, not just women, they care about having romantic relationships with other people. They put a lot more time and investment in their relationships with others, but they never really get the chance to know themselves. And so because of that, they're kind of struggling with their relationships and they don't know why. And as I've learned so far, it always starts with inside. So if you don't know yourself and you're not in love with yourself and you're not romantically, like, you don't think you're the shit. Yes, you might think somebody else is the shit, but that could be at your own detriment later on.
Yes. Absolutely. See what I'm saying? Yeah, you're already making an earthquake with the nuggets. I love it. So in what you're saying, you know this firsthand as well because you work with women entrepreneurs. Talk to me about your business.
Ooh, my favorite subject. All right, so I'm a brand stylist and web designer, and I basically help mostly women entrepreneurs. Not only, well, they usually already know who they are and what they do and how they help other people. So I help them translate that visually so that other people can see it and automatically make a connection, automatically know that they want to work with them, automatically know that they can buy from them. That is literally what I do in its simplest form, both with the brand designs that I create and definitely with the web designs that I create for those entrepreneurs.
No, absolutely. I love that. I remember when I did the Real Talk for Business Mastery Summit. That was when we first connected. And I know how important it is that once you know what you're doing, you know who you want to attract, you know what you want to achieve. A lot of us entrepreneurs, we will go to Canva. We may go to other places to utilize those services. But I know with me personally, I'm picky. I like relation. And when I say picky, you guys, it doesn't mean like I'm going to be like, oh my God, almost everything you do, I need you to fix something, because I'm actually a very easy client, I believe. Because I'm a creative. So visually I can see what I want to a degree, but I just don't have your technical talent. I don't have access to the programs and software that you use. And I also just don't have your vision to make it come to life. And when you came back to me with that logo, I literally just talked to you and I was like, yeah, your roots got to be like this. And it's all about the conversations. And unlike other summits, I want to do all these things. And when you came back and you had these conversation bubbles and this beautiful tree for the wisdom and the roots and the growing and the way that you did everything, I really did feel that expression. I felt like you helped me express what I wanted to say to people visually, and the response and the feedback just from the design alone was extremely effective. And so, I've seen you, and it continues to grow and it continues to get better. And I love that, because I know so many women are not confident in that translation. They don't really, people talk about, you need to do a call to action. You need to get you some people to your website, or you need to ask people to buy your stuff. But people are afraid of two questions. Where's your business card and where's your website? And then you'll have people getting these arguments. You don't need that anymore because technology is taking over. But at the end of the day, people are going to ask. And when you don't feel comfortable saying www.blank.com, then that translates all the way back into you. and how you feel about what it is that you have to offer. So I love what you do. I love why you do what you do. But here you are, you're on this show. Let's rewind some, because you're confident, you're bold, you are definitely worth what your weight in gold. But your journey as entrepreneurship has not been an easy one. Can we kind of give people a little bit of a synopsis of the Samoa experience, because you didn't arrive here as successful as you are today?
Oh, no, I didn't. No, I did not. Oh my God. I actually realized this morning. I've always had the entrepreneurship gene. I mean, back in high school, I used to sell chocolates, even though I wasn't supposed to, but I needed money. But what I've also realized is every time I was trying to get a job, like in high school, I wanted a job. I kept asking my parents, can I get a job? They would say no. And so I was like, I still want to make my own money. They're like, oh, we'll give you money. And I was like, no, I want to make my own money. So I started selling chocolates. And then once I moved out, I needed a job. I couldn't find a job. And then I finally found one. I worked with her for about 6 or 7 months, making like literally nothing and working my ass off. And then I realized she was a bitch. So I moved on from that. And as I was trying to get another job, I found a great job with someone I liked and everything. But then I got rejected because I didn't have as much experience as she liked. Like she loved me, she loved my energy, but she said, you just don't have as much experience for this position. I'm sorry. And I was kind of at a standstill. It was like, what now? So I reverted to entrepreneurship. Like, it's like I always revert to it. I was always fighting it. And I told myself I would be an entrepreneur when I was old enough. When maybe in my 30s or my 40s, when I had more experience in life. And I didn't realize that entrepreneurship was what would give me the experience in life. Ooh. And how that translated into who I am today. It's like I can basically give my business all the credit to the person that I am today and how much I love the person that I am today.
I like that. And you becoming and knowing and growing and doing all of those things would be because you would have to take the nesty plunge and jump into entrepreneurship. So what were some of the battles after that? You say, okay, I'm having this struggle. I can't necessarily really work with anybody. Things aren't working out. How was it? Like, was it your age? What struggles hit you the hardest with going from where you are? Even with something as simple as how much you charge, because your prices were dirt cheap. I mean, it was no offense. We're going to talk about this, right? Because this is going to be about vulnerability to help another woman. Your prices were so cheap that I was like, you need to charge more before you even gave me, before I even came to you to work. And it's like, work with me. And it's like, no, some people would be like, don't tell her till after she does some work for you that she should be more expensive. But I was like, no, because I saw your genius immediately. But there are these things, mindset, issues and blocks that you have to get through. So what was it for you that was holding you back from stepping into this woman that you love today and you're continuing to have this romantic relationship with?
I think my biggest thing was after a lot of journaling and looking back, I realized that my biggest thing with stepping into myself and stepping into my power and what my value was that I didn't believe that the person that I am, that I could be, was worth being loved, worth being accepted. I didn't believe that I was worth it. And it all stems back up. Usually it stems back from your childhood and what you're taught and what society teaches you. And in the society that I grew up in, I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness household where I was told that I could, and most Christian and religious households do this too, where they tell you, don't seek riches, don't do this, don't do that, because you won't be worth the kingdom of God. God will punish you. God will do this and God will do that. So because of that, my relationship with God was in the trash. I didn't, and my relationship with myself was in the trash because I didn't believe, I was afraid of who I was. I was afraid of how powerful I could be because I was afraid that I would be rejected for that power. by my parents, by the other people that I love, and by God. So because of that, a lot of the steps that I did not to take to step into that power, I was the one stopping myself subconsciously because I was afraid.
That was a mouthful. And you know how I feel about that. And I talk about this a lot on my live videos, even on Facebook. And somebody that's listening, really, have you taken the time to internalize your spiritual hangups? You know, what is it that you're thinking? How are you perceiving God as it relates to money? And how is that damaging you in your business? Because until you love yourself and you feel worthy and you're not in a state of constantly looking over yourself and did I do this right or that right? Is God satisfied with me today or not? You can't then, if you don't do that, you can't step into entrepreneurship and be like, oh yeah, by the way, I got it going on. Oh, no, don't brag, don't boast, be humble. You can't come into entrepreneurship and be like, yeah, I'm so excited. I'm going to hit multiple six figures this year. Yeah, but where your treasure is, your heart is also. You know, people start, throwing these verses and these quotes and they start saying things, and if it's embedded in your subconscious and if that's what you have learned, then yeah. And I don't tell people how to reverence God, but whether you say God or the universe, when you're not connected to whatever this divine thing is that's bigger than us, and you don't feel the relationship and the energy of the massive love that's around you, you're not fit to receive. And so I definitely know how that can be a hindrance in business. And I see it happen with women all the time. Everybody has this transformational point. So let's transition into this, because that's a heavy one. And we could literally dive into that conversation and take it down into multiple layers. Can you think back to that moment, that ultimate transformative moment when it all kind of just came crumbling at you? And it was like, if I don't do something now, I can see everything that I'm working so hard to create falling apart. What was that transformational experience that made Samoa say, no, I'm going to know God, and I'm going to fix and repair this thing. I'm going to take accountability for where I'm at and do the work and heal, so that you can begin to get this breakthrough to get from where you were to where you are right now?
I'd say that transformation is when I got my heart broken. And I didn't get my heart broken by some boy or anything like that. I got my heart broken by my parents. They went over something really silly and nothing that you would actually disown your child for. I got this, like, my dad literally called me and he told me that I didn't need to be in touch with him or his family. No need to visit, no need to call, no need to do anything. And that night that he called me, it's funny because I was having a really good day that day. And it's like that night was actually, like, I was feeling great. I was like, yeah, I'm stepping into my power and everything. And then everything felt like it came crashing and crumbling down. And I had never been so upset in my life. Like, I don't remember a time where I cried as much, felt so bad and so horrible than that night. But then I talked to you. That same night I talked to you, and you told me that, I think what you told me was that I shouldn't let this stop me. You said that I was on a roll and I shouldn't, stop because of this huge roadblock. And then what I had to do was, in terms of taking action and like taking responsibility, is turn this thing that looked like a big roadblock in the middle of the road into a power. Turn it into something that would help me instead of hurt me. And what ended up happening was me realizing that the biggest reason that I wasn't stepping into myself was my parents, because I felt like not only wouldn't God accept me in society, but every child is taught, well, at least I was taught, that my only job is to make my parents proud and make my parents happy. So if I'm not making them proud and happy, then I'm failing at life, basically. And so that, once my parents kind of disowned me, that was gone. That weight off my shoulder was gone because I already did the worst, right? I already disappointed them to the point where they disowned me. Disappointed them according to them, obviously. And if I realized that although I was stepping into my power and I was doing all these amazing things, and my family members were telling them about that. And a couple months ago, my dad had even told me he was proud of me. But even though I was doing all of these things, nothing satisfied them. Nothing would make them proud because because I'm human and I will make mistakes, and whatever mistakes that I will completely obliterate what I was doing. And I realized that I couldn't be living for my parents or for other people or to make people happy or to make other people proud. I had to make myself proud. I had to make myself happy, and I had to choose to do that. And so once I did that, once that moment came and I turned it into something, a lesson to learn from, I was able to seek the help of an amazing mindset and confidence coach. She's just amazing. I don't know if you guys know her. Her name is August. And she kind of helped me with a couple of sessions, but I also had to do the work myself so that I would leave that part behind where my parents or no, neither my parents or anybody else would be the people weighing me down.
This is one of those you have to be watching the video because I know that people that are watching can see it and can feel it. Once again, what you're talking about, the amazing, unfortunate thing is, excuse me, is that this is not, it's not isolated just to you. It's not just your experience. And I've talked to so many women that have been in their later 30s and early 40s that are still dealing with that trauma of that cousin, sister, auntie, brother, mother, uncle, grandparents, that person that may have raised them where their opinion about them means so much. And of course, if it's the person that raised you or your parents, it does have a tendency to have a much more detrimental side effect when they don't. But yeah, I remember that conversation, and it's the truth. And, you know, that was the core of it, was that you can't allow this to be what breaks you. You have to find the power in it. And once again, I'm never taking away from anybody else's experience, but your parents kind of almost did you a favor. And I don't know if you really heard yourself saying that, because what happens with a lot of people, instead of being full-fledged disowned, it's kind of like there's this dance, like, I hope they're going to accept me. Maybe they'll accept me. I hope that they're going to accept. Well, they haven't yet. They kind of put me down, but they're still in my life and they kind of put me down. It's like this dance, and it's not fun. It doesn't feel good. Whereas with yours, it was like, bam, you know, by the way, we don't accept you. And it's like, well, dang it, if I did all of this and they don't accept me, then either my life just isn't worth living, or I need to keep living the life that I started any doggone way. But, you know, ladies that are listening, where are you at? Who is that person that you are craving their approval so bad? You just want them to say, good job. You just want them to say, you can do this. Because whoever that person is, if it's somebody outside of you, you're going to stagnate your growth. You know, for a little while, it will work for someone like a coach or a good friend or a confidant to see your greatness. But if you always need that external validation, you will always be hindered. I was talking to a woman that I worked with before, and she was just talking about how she realized that every woman in her life would always tell her, that was pretty decent, but you should have done this. Well, that was pretty good, but it would have been different if you did that. I don't know how I feel about it. They just never could give a full-fledged compliment. It's like somebody saying, I'm sorry I stepped on your foot, but you shouldn't have had it in the middle of the aisle. So is it my fault? Are you sorry, or are you not? Which one is it? And for a while, what was holding her and what was carrying her was that I would always tell her, you're a genius. You are a genius at what you do. And I wasn't just saying it as a flat comment. I'm like, you're a genius because, and I'm giving these bullet point lists out there. And as I was saying all of these things, she was internalizing them, but those seeds were planted. But eventually one day she was like, you know what? I am a damn genius. And from that point forward, what came from her, it was no more it wasn't a technical skill anymore. It wasn't a strategy that I gave her. It was like I'm in my zone and I'm running with this thing and flowing with it. But I also noticed with you too, is while you were going through this process, you accepted it for what it was, but you had to go through layers of forgiving them and understanding that you had defined God by your relationship with them, because you perceived God to be like your dad, not realizing that the universe's capacity to love and to accept and to give is beyond human comprehension. And then you realize that, hey, he's not even a man, he's a woman. I remember that conversation too.
Oh my God, that transformation that breakthrough was amazing when I realized that it was mostly my mom that I associated with God, because she was the one who really drilled God into me when I was growing up. And my mom is the least flexible of the two parents. Now I see them as two different people instead of a unit. Like, you see how like the progress has been made. So like my mother is the least flexible one. She's like the more rigid one in terms of God and the way you should live your life, blah 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 blah. And I saw God as her. She was God. Like my dad, I was daddy's little girl. Like, he could get mad at me, but eventually it would blow over. But my mom, it's like, if there's something wrong between us, there's something wrong between us, and there's like almost nothing that can do to fix it. So with my mother and God, it was like I felt that God was my mom. So I felt like if my mom didn't accept me, God would accept me. I thought of her as the most godly woman ever, like I thought of her as perfect too. I was like, I didn't see her as a human. She wasn't human to me. Like, my mother wasn't human to me. I didn't see her as a human who could make mistakes. I didn't see her as a human who was really just trying to live her best life and be the best person that she could be the best mother, be the best wife, etc. So because of that, she had hurt me, as people in relationships do. She had hurt me as I was growing up, especially when I moved out, when the words that she would say to me, they hurt. And they hurt more than I realized. And I realized that I was holding a grudge for both of them because they were hurting me, and I didn't think that they should, because in my head they were perfect, and perfect people don't hurt people because you're perfect. So once I made that detachment and I started realizing that I had hurt them too, how I had because I feel like a lot of people, when they have issues with any issues or circumstances or situations that they're not happy about, they think, oh, this person did this or this situation happened, and they never look at the role that they play and the responsibility that they've had in that situation. So I had to really look back and look at the situations where I felt like I was hurt by my parents and see how I hurt them in the process too, either through just self-defense, normal self-defense, or circumstance or whatever happened. I did hurt them, and that hurt the relationship also. So I had to take the responsibility, and I also had to humanize them and realize that they're just trying to be the best people that they can be. And once I realized that and I detached them from God, I also saw God. I also humanized God in a way where God is like, it's just divine entity who is part of us, and we are part of him or her or it, whatever you want to call it, where I don't know, he gives, and he wants the best for us. He wants us to be the best people that we can be. So there's no way that he would ever punish us for anything. There's no way that he would say, oh, because you did this and you didn't follow this specific rule in the Bible, I'm going to punish you. I see a lot of this more objectively, where I see the Bible as a guide. It's like, hey, this could actually help you live a better life. If you lead your life with these rules, it could help you better. Am I going to tell you what to do? No, it's your life. But it could help you. I gave you your life. Like, a lot of people see God and they're like, oh, God gave us life, so we have to do this, all of these rules so that we can honor him and honor the gift that he gave us. But if I give you a pair of shoes and you say, I'm going to wear these shoes to this business meeting I'm going to next week, And I'm like, no, you can't wear those shoes to that business meeting. You have to wear it to the gala next year. And you're like, but I don't want to. And I say, oh, but I gave you the shoes, so you should do it. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So if God gave us the gift of life, we shouldn't say, oh, because he gave this gift, and he's not going to say, oh, he's a giving person. He's not going to say, oh, I gave you this gift, so this is how you should run your life, and this is how you should take care of the gift. He's going to give you some guidelines, but it's up to you. It's yours. So that's what I had to realize, where I had to humanize him, and I had to see that he just really loves and he really cares about all of us. And each of us have a divine gift, and each of us have something that we can contribute to the world. And all he wants is for us to contribute that to the world and be successful with that gift. That's all he cares about.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I know some people, because I come from a very religious background as well, will have those conversations where it's laced in, all of these bullet points, these religious habitual habits. And I've seen so many people follow the statutes to the highest degree, but their capacity to love, their patience, their ability to forgive, that introspection that says, but I could have responded to the situation differently. How do I hurt people too? I see so many of them lack in their area. They are superior at being able to see the flaws, but not to see the beauty. And that is one of the most empowering things that you can ever do to someone, is to look at them and to love on them, to look at them and to see beauty in them, to look at them and have an expectation that they be the best version of themselves possible. And when you really, really love people, nobody has to tell you not to steal or kill or murder. You know what I mean? When you really, really love people, it's a byproduct of doing the right thing and doing good things. And so we're not going to turn this into a whole, Bible study thing. But, it said that the law was there because people needed that, but the law didn't work. And then for people that believe in Jesus, it's like, and that's why grace came into play. So I definitely, truly feel you. I feel you a lot, because I know that I'm a much better person today than I was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I know that my capacity to love people, my patience has grown exponentially. And by being in this gift and being in this zone, I put myself in a position for it to do that. If I had followed the path that many people I know wanted for me, everybody was telling me evangelist, prophetess, or pastor. It's like one of those three, because we get so caught up in religious doctrine and titles. But I'm ministering to people every single day. I'm talking to people and encouraging them every single day. And I had a debate. I got to put this in here really quick. I had a debate with somebody that I know from a while back that was like, well, where are you at? What church home are you at? What are you doing? Where you live? And I was like, nowhere. Oh, yeah, but you got to be around these kind of people. You got to be doing these things. And this is what it looks like in order for God to work through you, and so on and so forth. And I asked crazy questions. They were good questions, though. And like you said at the beginning, oh, my business, my favorite thing to talk about. I was like, so what do you do? Where do you work? Who's your least favorite person in your job? And not knowing where I was going, I was like, no, just really, what are some of the most difficult things about your job? Oh, yeah, well, this person that sits at this office, and it happens to, and she's fueled because my manager is on her, so my supervisor's on their side, and this is what this looks like. So what do? I mind my business. I go to work every day. I make sure I get my job done, and I'm grateful to God that I got this job so I can still put food on the table. They put the God twist in there because they thought that they knew where I was going. And what I said to them, I said, wow, so you believe that God would have you in a place where you operate at a deficit spiritually every single day? Because I know that when I wake up every single day, that there are a minimum of 20 women that are impacted by me directly daily. And only God knows how many hundreds or thousands, because of this podcast, because of my live videos, and people going back and trolling, or because of my posts, and because of blogs that I've written, because of other podcasts I've been featured in, or places that I've been interviewed. But I'm impacting lives and empowering people to feel good about life and to step into their greatness every day. And you can't put that in a box of saying that I had to be in a specific church, assigned to a specific pastor, given a specific title, because a lot of people are vying for that one position, but only one person can be the pastor. You know, you can only have so many little ministers, you know, up under you. And so, you know, breaking away from the confinement of those religious philosophies is a game changer for most entrepreneurs. I have found that the most successful entrepreneurs are not the ones who compromise their faith. They're the ones who took their faith outside of the traditional box of religion. And that's just what it really boils down to. And so we haven't really talked that much. I know time is kind of winding down about, you know, how you help women that are in a similar spot as you with what you do on web design. I would actually like to go ahead and invite you now to say, hey, let's come back so that we can talk about branding and imaging and what that looks like and how it translates to women, because a woman going through what you went through can't adequately even communicate what she needs in a brand. But I know, unlike some other people that do logos and websites, you get to the core of a woman and you do the same work with them that you did on yourself to make sure that they're not throwing a shit ton of money down the drain on a web design and stuff that's not going to mean anything to them later. And so I just wanted to throw that in there so you guys can be looking out for Samoa to come back. But let's leave these ladies with some tools and some resources, some advice, you know, to help them get to their next level. Talk about, you know, what do you use? Is it books, meditations? Who are you around? How do you keep yourself so together?
Wow. That's a good question. Well, in terms of the branding aspect, before I started giving all the tools and stuff, I want to say, in terms of investing in a professional brand, I'm going to tell you who it's not for. And it's not for the entrepreneur who's just starting out, because as I said, it's a journey of a lot of self-discovery. And especially if you're branding yourself, especially if you're a big part of your business, if you don't know who you are, you can't show people who you are. Like, it's impossible. That doesn't work. So you have to go through some bumps and bruises and scrapes to really invest in a great brand identity that really truly shows who you are. The branding I had when I started and the branding I have now is completely different. Like, completely different, but I love it. And it connects with people so much. Like, I'm getting people with my brand that are just coming in and they're like, oh yeah, I want to work with you. There's no hassle. It's like, I saw your website, I see your brand, I've been following you for a bit, I want to work with you. And that's where you want to be. So you have to be energetically aligned to that. You have to be energetically, spiritually, everything has to be aligned in that matter. So in terms of that, I spend a lot of time with myself. Like, a shockingly amount of time with myself. Like, I don't understand people who hate being alone, because I love every moment I get to just be still and be alone. And in a world where everything is constantly moving, and I'm the type of person who I was always on the go. I always had to be doing something. I always had to be distracted by something. So in a world where all of that is going on, it's good to be still sometimes and just talk to yourself. Or even if you're not talking to yourself, just kind of let the thoughts go by. I tried guided meditation for a bit. That didn't work for me. I just couldn't do it. I'm a free spirit. So I just kind of, like, whenever the moment arises, I just sit there and I just kind of sit still and let the thoughts drift by. I ask whenever, especially limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs, whenever those rise up at any moment, because what people don't realize is that you can meditate in any moment. You don't have to have 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 minutes every day set apart. If I have a client that says, oh my God, like, I had the first client that invested a shit ton of money in me, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Wow, she spent all that money on me and it was a deposit. Okay, all right, get your shit together. What if I can't deliver? What if I can't deliver what I need? And then I have to sit still. Always question those thoughts and ask them why. Like, like, I would have friends and me and even clients who would say, oh, I don't think people will pay me this much, or I don't think I'll get this. And I'll be like, why? Because, and people don't want to say because I'm not good enough. People don't want to say because I don't think I'm good enough, or because et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They don't want to say that, but that's what they're thinking. So you have to challenge your thought and say, why don't you think that way? What has proven that you are not the shit? Tell me one situation where you have proven that you are not the shit, that where you've proven that you're not good at what you do. And so I find myself doing the same exercises. Like, when was the last time you created a brand for somebody and it did not match who they were? I had no answer to that. It's like, I was like, I don't know. So it's like a lot of the times we have like these dark thoughts that try to debilitate us, to tell us that we're not good enough, that we won't do well, that scare us. You know, they scare us into not doing stuff that we know that we could do. And instead of challenging those, we let them win. We say, oh, yeah, you're right. And sometimes they're not thoughts. And there are thoughts that we were taught by other people, or other people even say it to us. But the thing is, we shouldn't let those thoughts stop us from doing what scares us. So that's the biggest thing that I drill into my clients. Usually these are like really confident women, though. They just have like, everybody has their low points where they're like, I don't know about this. And I guess I could say I'm my client's biggest cheerleaders. Like, I'm over here saying, no, you can do it. And I'm not just here saying, no, you can do it. I'm like, here's why you can, like you do. Here's why you can do it. And here's why you shouldn't think that you can't do it, because here are the examples. Here are the things you have told me. Here is what you've told me has translated into this visual brand, and it represents you. And here's why it represents you. And usually because I craft something so beautiful, and my clients are always like, oh my God, it's so pretty. I love it. It's beautiful. And I'm like, it represents you. You're beautiful. So that's the biggest thing that I would say helps me and my clients. It's challenging those thoughts and those fears.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And I'm with you with the meditation. I think that sometimes we are a tad bit too restrictive. Do I get up in the morning and spend time with myself? Do I journal on a consistent basis? Yes, I do. But I could just have a thought and start journaling like right after we get off of this podcast episode, because you said something that hits my spirit. And it's like, oh, I just need to get this out. I need to talk about it. But, you know, there's different strokes for different folks. And some people use hypnosis, guided meditations, music with meditation. Some people are very comfortable, you know, being by themselves. But I hope you all are getting the gist when you heard her say that. Find what works for you, because I know people will join groups and they'll get involved in stuff, but you know, you're trying to find a way to make that connection to the divine, but you got to do it in a way that feels good to you. Whatever raises that vibration of you to being your biggest self. So your circle of influence, what kind of people are you around that are holding you accountable to say, you know what, you are the shit, and we want to continue to see you be that and then some?
Well, I've got you, and the women in the Real Talk for Business Mastery group are always inspiring. I also have my clients who are usually, they're the ones that really keep me going, because I do spend a lot of time with them during the day. And I also recently joined a meetup group in my area with these creative women in business. And I got invited to be kind of like in the leadership part, like to lead the meetups and everything, which is super exciting, and I'm making great connections. And so every time I find someone, we usually meet up once a month, and every time I see somebody that I'm drawn to, that I have a connection with, I instantly try to further deepen the relationship. So that's the other thing. It's like if I see someone who's like-minded, a like-minded individual, or somebody who may not be like-minded, but who's a bit higher up in the ladder, either spiritually or financially or in their business, any way that I can, because in business you want to learn. You always want to learn from people who know more than you. So surround yourself with people who know more than you. So there was this woman recently that I actually met. She was just passing through town and she decided to come to the meetup. And we met. We didn't even really talk that much during the meetup, but then she somehow found me on Instagram. I did not give her my handle. She used her social media skills and she found me, and she just followed me. And instead of saying, oh, she followed me, like most people would have, I was like, what pushed her to go through those extra links to connect with me? So I talked to her, and we ended up having a meetup in for like a whole hour and a half just talking, and I learned so much from her. I let her do most of the talking, but I learned so much from her in that way. So my biggest way of growing is making genuine connections. I found that like I look at blog posts, look at what influencers are talking about. I listen to amazing podcasts while I'm working, and I listen to my coach when she's talking. But I find that the best way that I actually learn and really internalize things and learn more about myself, more about my industry, more about how I can help more people is when I actually go out there and make real connections with people.
I love that. I had an amazing conversation last night with someone that I met on social media. And it was one of those, let's just connect, because I looked at your profile. You got a kick-ass profile. And she's like, I think yours is too. And we were so aligned in how we feel about life and about business. But the way that we serve and who we serve, our titles are slightly different. Right now, it's just about a relationship, but later it could end up being a collaboration. Because with this woman in particular, you never know, but I didn't perceive her to be someone who could potentially be my client. I was like, this is a woman who I would like to be connected to. I even invited her to be on the podcast. I'm like, you know what, you would be great on my show. You have a lot of wisdom and stuff to bring to the table. And that's the truth. This internet thing can have you so confined, so closed in, so away from reality that you forget the intimacy of connections, that you forget what it means to actually be around people. And I love that you do that you get out, that you explore people, and even online, you explore people and using apps like Zoom and video calls through Messenger and all of these other things. It just makes it too easy for us not to be connected. But those conversations, those connections are extremely, extremely fruitful. And I love the fact that you are intentional about being around people that know more than you. And a lot of times people don't excel or expand because they're in the room with yes men. They're in the room with the people that are always cheering for them, so they can always feel secure, like I got it going on. But to go to the next level and have to be like, dang, man, I'm not doing that yet. A lot of people, they don't want to do that. And then I also heard your clients, yes. And I know that doing the kind of work that most of the women that are listening to this podcast, the kind of work that you do, that is something that is extremely important. You want to work with people that inspire you. I have not worked with a single woman that did not make me say, ooh, you're going to have to step your game up, or that made me say, oh my God, I want to, and not like I'm scared, but like, this is a big challenge. This is that next thing for me. I want to serve at the best of my capacity. I want to be the best me that I can be. And so when they come to the table and you got somebody that's a go-getter that's doing the work, you're like, okay, well, I got to give them something else to do. I've got to, what is it? What else? What's next? And, and sometimes it's not even about the work. It's just about the words. Like literally listening to you talk during this episode and the summits that I've done with you before, I always leave away from them like, wow, that was amazing. And I love it when I can sit and relax and focus on the words that came, from this moment. So people, who are you around? Who's talking to you? Who is inspiring you? How do you feel when you leave conversations? Do you feel drained? Do you feel introspective? Do you feel hopeful? Do you feel scared? Because that says a lot, about your circle of influence and the people that you're around. Before we get out of here, you got a last word of wisdom or encouragement that you want to give to the ladies that are listening?
I want to say that a lot of people say that entrepreneurship is hard, because I know that most of you guys are probably entrepreneurs. So a lot of people say that entrepreneurship is a really hard thing to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not gonna lie, it's difficult, but it's worth it. Like, because you don't just get the benefit. Like when I started my business, I thought I wanted to start a business so I could have, a lot of people who start, they want to have a business so that they could have the freedom and also make money, like make some good money and be able to control their time and their life, etc. But I realized that there are so many more perks to this entrepreneurship thing, because you get to choose who you interact with. You get to choose what content you digest. You have the choice to become exactly who you were meant to be and who you want to be. And I think that's the biggest benefit to that. But in order to get to that point, you have to do the work. You have to do the hard things, because nothing worth anything doesn't, like, you can't find something that's really worth something unless you do the work. Like, you're not gonna find a pot of gold just lying there. You're usually gonna have to do something to get to that pot of gold. So it's the same thing with entrepreneurship. So my biggest thing to say to the people listening is, don't give up. Like, I promise you, whether it takes 2 months or 2 years or 20 years, you will get there, and it'll feel so good. And then once you get to that point, there'll still be more work to do, but it gets so much easier. Like that constant struggle isn't there anymore, and it's great, guys. It's so great. Like, that's all I have to say, and it's so worth it. So keep going. Like, if you're not there yet, keep going, and if you are there yet, keep going and help others get to that point.
Well, there you have it. Keep going. It's worth it. Whatever that next level is for you, push through it. Don't settle for mediocrity. She said it's worth it. 2 months, 2 years, whatever, keep going. Samoa, thank you again for coming on the podcast. I know that women are going to be moved by this. I can't wait to get the episode out there, and I can't wait to have you back. So we'll be chatting once this is over. So bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomendon'tbitchpodcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces.
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you.